Hi, Scanjet UK here again. This time I'll look at a ReAmiga 3000 from TRU. He funded the PCBs actually, unintentionally, but he did, as I was developing Marine. So I'm just going to open this. It's dry off, torrential rain here, absolutely soaked. See, I've got water on my pants here. Right, you're a bit close there, so I've got the wrist strap on. Oh, somebody's just fallen on the floor. Yeah, actually, it's the Zulu Scuzzy that just fell out there. Hopefully it's alright. But it's well packaged. This box is quite good. I think this must be the original box that he got bought in, maybe from Screamo, because I think he got it from Stefan. Wow, what's amazing about this is the PCB I've created in is red, and this is red. It's going to match, isn't it? I think it's red. Yeah, it is red. I'm just looking. Wow, that's so sexy. That's really nice. I'm really confused. He's got an Amber and he's got an SDMAC. He's sent a Re-SDMAC with it. I'm confused. Like, why does he need an Amber if he's got an Amber? I don't know. Yeah, I've got the daughter board here thing. Yeah, I did tell him he didn't need to send this, but I think he'd already packaged it up. So it was probably more hassle than it was worth just saying take things back out. So yeah, it's just a different revision I think to mine. Or maybe it's not. It's Rev 7. I'll have a look at mine. Yeah, and here's the one that I got from Commodore. There'll be a video coming up on the repair of this and the upgrades and everything. I had some traumas with it. But it's a Rev 7. His is a 7.1 TRUs. And you can see this one was recapped by Cavanos in May 2022. Massive thanks to Cavanos for sending that. You're going to enjoy that series, I did. Yep, and having a look at what's on the bench there. Let's just shift that out of the way. I mean, it's good that he's included the drive, to be honest, because I think he's got Kickstart 3.2 on here. So this is my first time, I think, looking at a ReAmiga 3000. So it's not the 3000 plus. There'll be a link to that video top right, the one that came from, I think it was Andy T, wasn't it, where we removed the SDMAC. It's nice to see everything socketed on here, though. That's really nice, rather than soldered straight on. I mean, everything, including the 6882 socketed. And as I say, I think Stefan built this over in Denmark. Really nice. I really like it. And really nicely assembled on the underside as well. I don't see a single bit of flux or anything on there. That is really gorgeous. Yeah, you can see here John Hertel's website here, John Chucky as he's known, Hertel. And he's got a really good guide on there that explains how to best build the board and test it in various stages. And provided you follow his instructions, he will be able to provide any help and assistance and things as you go along. And he's done a really good job. And at the top of that page there, it does say that there's a through-hole version and an SMD version. So there's at least two different revisions of the boards, you know, the ReAmiga boards that he's created here. And they were recreated basically to deal with corrosion issues. You know, there'll be a link top right to the Cathers 3000 repair series. It's like a 5-part series from hell that they get really corroded on occasion. And yeah, you can fix them, as I did there, when you've got determination. But, well, often it might be better just to rehouse all of the components on a new board. And if you're still interested in learning more about the 3000 and building one of these, Banjo Guy Ollie's second channel there, I think it's Surfs and something, I forget the name of it. Yeah, he's got a channel, it's a short series there, building one of the ReAmiga 3000s, as well as ReAmiga 1200 he built as well. So do check out Banjo Guy Ollie's channel down below. Here's a quick look at one of the PCBs there. You know, you can use this component explorer here that I think Chucky created and zoom around the board, you know, zoom in, look at both sides of it. You can see the silk screen's really well marked, as I mentioned in a minute as we start to look at the actual board itself. You know, silk screen all over the place, pointing out what various connections and things are. You know, going above and beyond what Commodore did with the original board. Really nice. John did a really good job of recreating the 3000 board and making it a little bit better. Wow, such a nice colour as well, isn't it? That's not what I expected. I thought it was going to be black or purple or something, but it's worked out quite nice because our Marine is in red, so it's gonna go quite nicely up there. So what I need to do, well, we'll test this first of all, just make sure it is actually working after transit. There's no reason it wouldn't be. It seems alright. And you've got Sims here rather than zip RAM, which is nice. I'm just looking generally over the board, everything appears to be in exactly the same place you'd expect it on the other, like on a Rev 9.1 whatever. I think mine's a Rev 9, I think this is Rev 11 down here. So yeah, there are going to be some differences here, but for the most part it seems laid out exactly the same as my 3000. Let me just get my magnifying glass. There's a couple of strange looking, well, very strange looking. Let me put you on the microscope. I did not think he had an amber. It seems crazy, crazy to me that you would want to remove the amber and fit marine. Like, what's that all about? Yeah, just bringing the microscope over here, CavCam, next to Cavanos. You can see what I mean. See this? It's just some flux residue, I think, around that RAM. So yeah, whilst the board is exceptionally clean on the other side, well, there's some strange looking things on this side. I'll have a toothbrush around that, I think. I'll inspect around the wider area and stuff, but it just seems to be that RAM. It's mysterious, isn't it? How it's got those little weird discolorations around it. And as I say, we've got an amber here, which I didn't expect. I'm quite surprised it's got an amber. And we've got some lovely purple polymers on this board as well. And they're not all polymers, some of these here are just standard wet type electrolytics, you know, aluminium type, but yeah, these larger ones, the 470s are they? Yeah, they are. 470 16 volt, they're all polymers. Anyway, it is really nice, isn't it? Really nice, that board. Right, I'll connect the power supply up and we'll connect it all up, see if it's booting. Right, so everything's connected up here. Got the power, we've got video, sound. There are no other connections anywhere near the motherboard here, so it's not like anything could short anywhere. Switch it on. Yeah, we've got some LEDs down here. It's nice having those on the motherboard, but they're like on the some of the terrible fire things that are on the risky MSX, that they're blinding me. They're so bright. Yeah, and we got the border. You know, I can see the centre part as a dark colour to the edge of the screen here. We'll just wait for that to give us the sticker disc in screen. I cannot believe how long that timeout has taken. I'm starting to think there's something wrong with it. This might be the issue I had with the 500 actually, that certain versions of Kickstart 3.2, they don't ever time out. It's like, because there's no floppy drive, it's like, I'm not booting, I'm just going to give you a black screen. This might be what's going on here. I might need to just connect the SCSI up, I think. Yeah, I'm quite surprised by that, to be honest. Let's just power that on. It needs separate power, doesn't it, I think? Because that's not doing anything there. Switch it on. I don't see any LEDs on this at all. It does have LEDs. I wonder if he's got this round the opposite way than I'm expecting. In terms of his pin 1. Yeah, the pin 1's right on the SCSI there. So, what I'm not sure about is why there are no LEDs here. Well, I don't know what to make of this at all. It is not booting. I asked the question a minute ago, have you changed any jumpers or anything like before you sent it to me or anything? Nope, nothing. It doesn't boot. We don't get any activity here. Let's take this back out. Yeah, we don't get any activity on the LED for the SCSI. Let's just inspect here. Some of these caps bent right over. That looks alright. Let's just try one out that. What I'm puzzled about though, I've got the wrist strap on. What I'm puzzled about is, I've checked everything here. That's pin 1 on here. Pin 1, that's right. Yeah, the SCSI cable's in. Super DMAC's in. SCSI chip's in. Everything's in. Everything feels firmly in place here. I've got nothing loose. I might need to reseat that memory, but, well, I don't know. I can't imagine that being the problem. We've obviously got the power connector here as well, just to make sure this is powered. The card is clicked in. Should we not see some activity on the LED here, like when we first switch it on? Should we not get like a flash or something? We don't get anything. I'm getting a yellow screen on the Amiga, so the Amiga is booting. Yellow screen is normal when you've not got this, because it's not terminated properly. It's looking a bit dirty, that. Maybe this just needed a reseat. I don't know, let's give it another try, see what happens. Switch it on. I just don't get why this doesn't do anything. We'll leave it. Maybe it'll boot from that. Maybe the LED doesn't work or something. I don't know. Same thing though, like a black screen with a darker coloured sensor. So it's getting off the initial mark. I checked the VSync. You know, the tick signal is set to VSync. So it's not like it needs an official PSU. I can't see what else there would be on this board. I've looked at the internal, external... Oh, hang on, there's an LED on there for the ID now. Or SCSI rather. Maybe it's just taken ages because there's no floppy drive. Yeah, you'll have seen that LED came on. I think. What does that mean? Does that mean it's booting? And the other interesting thing is the first thing I saw in the box was it's sent to Re-SDMAC. So why have we got this? Has he just not got around to fitting it? Is it flashed? Is it not flashed? Maybe he sent it to me because he was a bit unconfident about fitting it. But you see, that's just not doing anything now. Those green LEDs are going to need covering up. They're absolutely blinding me. They're blinding me, those green LEDs. It's like that's constantly glaring in my eye. Power cycle there. Let's try it again. See if anything happens. Right, the camcorder SD card filled up, so I'm going to try a few things here. First of all, I'm going to discard this drive because there's something wrong with it. It's intermittent. You touch around here just a little bit with the wrist strap on and the LED comes to life. It doesn't boot though, it doesn't ever boot. So it's like there's some missing connection somewhere there. Let's pull it off. Maybe the SCSI cable's damaged, maybe it's had an impact in transit, maybe it's when I dropped it on the floor. I don't know. Anyway, let's now connect floppy drive up. I'm just going to tilt it out the back like that, so it's nowhere near the motherboard. And just now it's got a drive connected up. Let's move that out of the way. Make sure that's not going onto jumpers. You've got to be really mindful of jumpers, because you've got some jumpers. You might not be able to see them right at the back here. If one of those Molex connectors went onto there, very bad day. Anyway, let's power that on. See what that happens with that. So at least we know we don't have some fundamental problem. Let me just stick test kit in. And the drive's upside down, so it might not boot very well, because this is one of these ones where I've had to weight the head. Let me just try and hold it the right way up. There we go, test kit's booted. Let's see what's going on here now. So let's look at memory. 16 meg. I'll just leave that just doing a couple of stages here until it's just gone around the memory range. So I'm curious as to what's gone wrong with that SCSI drive. Maybe it's because he has a terminator on it normally and he's not got it here or something, I don't know. There we go. Right, so you should let it go all the way around. I just wanted to see, can it just generally see the memory range? And it can. What else have we got? CIAs, precision timers. It's looking good. Yeah, the time and date's not right on there. Yeah, filter's working there. I've got to get my ear pointed at just the right angle. I think it's my age to hear that 10 kHz. So, back to the SCSI issue. Like, what is going on with the SCSI? Maybe it just needs a floppy drive. Maybe, I don't know. See, there are a few marks on this. Can you see that? There's a dint there. And the way they get bent over, they get bent a certain way. I mean, it's connected in there alright. We've reseated the SD card a few times. It's glued under here so you can't short anything. I mean, in theory it could be bad connections here. What I don't understand is, I found a number of times just going like this here. Oh, hang on, the LED's on. Like we've got a dry solder point somewhere there. But I mean, inspecting that, it doesn't look that way. When you get behaviour like that, sometimes it can be a missing or damaged ground. I might need to get this under the microscope in a minute. It could be dry joints on that Cypress chip there, is it? Looks like CY8C5267AXI. Yeah, just this corner here looks a little bit dry. The pins might not be making a good connection. That might be the issue. It's got a cap missing as well. Is that the problem? I'm wondering if when it fell on the floor a cap fell off. I'll get the microscope down. I'm going to need to inspect around on the floor now, try and find out if something did fall off. Thanks ever so much for this cavernous cam here. Yeah, the solder points here don't look good. Can you see that? I'll just try and get that to stop wobbling. On the chip here, they don't look so clever, if you ask me, on that side. So far down there. But I've noticed there's a cap missing here, see that? And you can see the solder points. The cap has fallen off. That might be the issue. That might be the issue. Everything else looks alright. I need to try and find that cap. It could be in the box. I don't know. It could have fallen off when I was just handling it here on the table. I'm so cheesed off. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. Right, I've got some 1 microfarad caps here. They're probably going to be too big. It looks like it's supposed to be 1 microfarad. Well, according to the SCSI to SD schematics. Is that what this is? Oh, it's got Amiga kit there. They tend to sell SCSI to SDs. I think this is what it is. And it uses the same family of chips as the SCSI to SD. So, anyway, let's just go for it with one of these, I think, if we can get one of these out. So I think that this isn't going to fix it, but, well, we just got to just run through the motions here, really. And see if we can get this working again. So I figure if I can, hang on, let's just rotate this around. I figure that if I can solder it onto one of the pads here. It's huge, isn't it? This cap is really not the right one. It's a mystery though, like, did that get knocked off in packaging when he was packaging it up? Did it get knocked off in transit? Was it stuck on the tape? I had a look around the tape from the packaging. If it was knocked off in that bubble wrap, well, it could have gone anywhere. I searched with a magnet on the floor, try and see if I can collect it from the floor. It's not on the floor, so I don't know. Is this even the problem? It may have been missing this cap all its life, this thing. I don't know, let's just... But I mean, those there are raised up as if there was something there at some point. And there no longer is. That's there. Obviously, if you nudged that now with your hand, you'd break the pad. So I do need to be a wee bit careful. But I'll be honest, I'm very careful handling these things anyway, so... And we'll go with quite fine wire here for the purposes of this. Yeah, just for good measure, I'm just going to reflow that point there. I mean, even if it doesn't work, I'll go and order one of those in a minute, because I'm sure it needs one. So let's just check. Go to the pad. No short there. Yeah, that side's going to ground. That side isn't. So I would seem to be bodged on there just for now. But I just want to see if that's made any difference. Let's carefully move everything out of the way, put the board back in a safe location. Get SCSI back in here again. Right, let's just see what happens with LEDs now. So, switching it on. You see, we don't see any LEDs like that. Oh, hang on, we did, we saw it there. There you go, I think it's working now. I think that was it. It's booing, or it's trying to. It's definitely doing more. Since we fitted that cap there, it's definitely doing more. It's kind of like it's given up. Maybe it's booted. Hang on, let's put the TV on. It may have booted. No, it hasn't booted. Just got a black screen again. Let's reseat the card. Let's try that. See what happens this time. He's definitely doing more though. He's behaving differently. I think it's just very slow because I chose to boot without a startup sequence, and it might be to do with libraries is the point. I was thinking, is it 040, 060 libraries? Because, well, booting to the you know, without a start sequence, it didn't boot up, but it took ages. I'll try it just leaving it booting up. I mean, that LED is pretty much on solid, but if I stare at it, I see it's flickering just a little bit every now and again. So it would appear to be booting, despite the fact how crazy long it takes to boot. There we go. It does boot. It's incredible how slow that was. But you see, the SCSI to SD has this limit of about, hang on, icon lib. This is the thing we're using his Kickstarts here and his card. So like, why doesn't this boot? Maybe he never had 3.2 in here, he stuck his 3.2 chips in. Oh god. Clearly he didn't have Kickstart 3.2 with this, and it's got Picasso there, so he's got some RTG or something. It might be looking for that. Right, I'm swapping over to my SCSI card. Enough is enough, I'm cheesed off with that. Not only does it need a new cap, that cable's crap as well. The other thing I would suggest to TRU is order a SCSI cable. You can get them from Amiga Kit for about £1.50 or something, maybe £2.50. Just replace that one. It's really, really loosely connecting every part, you know, both sides. Not a good SCSI cable. And here we go with the one Kavanos sent me. So let's see if we have more luck with this. Hopefully we will. That SCSI connector on the motherboard's half the problem here, because you know what? That went in really easy, like easier than it should do. Switch it on. Yeah, that boots them so much quicker. Can you see that? For the minute I switched it on, it was 1 second, then it went flash straight away, and it's booted. Booted 100 times quicker, that card. And that's no exaggeration. Instead of waiting 2 minutes, we waited several seconds. Yeah, we got the same issue with Kickstart here, look, but we might just be able to cancel and get an empty desktop. That was wishful thinking, I think. So I'm going to need to swap the Kickstart ROMs over. Anyway, the main point is, it is actually booting. Look, there we go. So I'll have a blank screen because we haven't got icon lib and what have you. Yay, it boots. So I had to adjust the capacitor there to get any VGA at all, but the Amber output is really clear on this. I'm nervous, thinking Marine might not be as good. It might not be as good, there might be some deficiencies here. I've asked TRU, are you sure about this? Because I think the Amber output is incredible on this one. It's really sharp. But that could be in part due to the other components on the Re-Amiga 3000 here. We've got polymers and things and subtle changes to this layout and subtle changes to a few components. So anyway, he's come back and said, yeah, please do it, because he wants to put this Amber onto another board that's currently in the States. I think Kavanos is working on a board for him. I could be wrong. So anyway, you've seen how clear that is here. I mean, yes, we've got banding from the scaling of the monitor and the phase and the clock adjustments and things. You can get rid of that if you dial that in on the monitor itself. But I mean, it looks really sharp here. I mean, really crystal clear sharp. Bear in mind, I think that's probably, I want to say progressive. I don't think that's interlaced. Anyway, I'm now going to take the Amber off, remove the socket, and fit some turn pin. Right, let's try and get Amber out. So I've got the PLCC extractor here, and you've got to press down and squeeze, and then try and just rock. There we go, it's coming out. It's just coming out, that's it. Just inspect the pins here. And yeah, you got a little twist on that left one there, and on that right one there, a little twist. It's probably definitely not from removal here, it's from a prior removal, maybe before it was put into this board. Just like a little press, just gently try and straighten those up. Anyway, that's the Amber chip out. Just means it's a bit easier, you've got less thermal mass on the pins, and obviously you're not going to end up soldering the Amber into the socket by trying to desolder it when it's in the socket. So I'll just carefully flip this over, and we need to desolder here. I'm just going to use the desolder pump. It's a little bit more controllable. Yes, it takes time, but it's the nice, quick, you know, the slow, not quick, the slow, careful, methodical removal, focusing on, you know, a pin at a time. It could be quite hard. I have no idea how many layers this PCB has. It's a modern PCB, you know, a remake. For all I know, it's a 4-layer. It probably is. Everything's marked, really. The nice thing with this is everything's marked on the silk screen as well, you know, it's quite nice. Nice attention to detail. Yeah, you may think the Amber series went really well for me, and I don't think it did, because lots of parts didn't get very many views. And you can argue, yeah, that's because, well, not everybody's really interested in Amber. And if anything, yeah, the thing for me, personally, I don't know whether the output is anywhere near as good as an actual Amber. I have some reservations. But this is going to be the test. I mean, if the video comes out okay here, like comparable to what was there a minute ago, yes, I'll be very pleased, but I've just got this terrible feeling. So I'd soldered all the points there, used a little bit of braid as well, just put some flux on your braid and just go around on both the in and outside on all 4 sides, and then just grab a couple of pins like this and just pivot gently. If they're not moving, go back with a braid. Yes, I'm checking the pins around here. Yes, it looks a mess, it's just flux. And see that? Free. If you get one that, like that one's not quite free, get one that doesn't do that, give it another go with the solder pump or some braid, and look, that one's not free. But you can just try and swing it one way and then the other. Yeah, you see that's not really moving. So let's do that one, and we'll go to the back to that one on the other side in a sec. So it was that one, wasn't it? Just try and get onto the braid and press it into the pin. Try and move the pin like that. Often that'll be enough if you've got flux on your braid. Nope, still not moving. With some fresh braid and flux. Can you see it moving? That's probably it. It's probably all we needed to do with that one pin. Still feels like it's kind of stuck there. So there must be like an accumulation of solder on the other side. So I'll heat it until it moves. Press right down where we go with the pump, because then you get maximum suction. You can see some solder coming towards the surface there. So there is some solder on that one. Just get the braid and flux onto that pin. Yeah, I think you can see the solder working out of it a little bit. Let's come down there into the middle of it. Oh, wow, that's been problematic, that one. There we go, I think that's done it. Famous last words. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and a few seconds later, as I was round this side, I went ping, 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 a few loosened up, and you can see now, there's no pin. It's fallen through. It's actually fallen off as I was trying to detach 1 or 2 pins there, just under its own weight. Yeah, there's a bit of solder there. It's obviously very dirty, but the socket has literally just fallen off. There we go. It's fallen off on its own. As I was saying before this section here, I just hope this is not all in vain, and that is RGB's not, you know, from VGA is not worse now. So I'm gonna just gently clean around this with corn buds. There we go. There's nothing to smear around there, but I'm just going on the assumption there might be the odd particle of solder here. and I don't want particles of solder there, and then I'll inspect with magnification. I mean, it is very clean, but anyway, we'll just gently clean. There we go. So I need to go get some turn pin now, and if I can find the mod. I think the way I'll do it is cut the turn pin to size and file the edges down, stuff, fit it onto here, yeah, and then plug this in and solder it on that way. Precisionally filed, precisionally cut, all pieces put on there. It did take me 25 minutes, 30 minutes to do that, but it looks really nice and straight. So now, where's pin 1 on this now? Yeah, so pin 1's towards the JTAG, pin 1 is towards the right. So I now need to try and align this. And there we go, straight in. So this polymer, it's just catching on that corner, it's that little corner of the PCB there. Now I think for the very final revision, this is a release candidate, but there'll be another version. I'm just going to take my file to this corner here, this very edge, and just go like that, because I think it needs like 0.5 millimeter shaving off it. That's what the issue is. That's it. There we go. That's it. Perfect. So I did have to shave 0.5 millimeter off the corner there, but it fits perfectly. Everything is fine. So if I now flip that over, I need to inspect here, while pressing upwards, and get it in the right angle so I can see in the light, to make sure all the pins are through. Everything's fine. Everything looks really good there. And then go over that side again, a few pins in onto the same strip. So it's now anchored, a bit more solder there. It's anchored in 2 places, that one strip. Going to anchor the next strip down exactly the same way. If you don't get this right, it'll be really hard to rework. Trying to get these pins off is not easy. Yeah, ask me how I know. You know, there are a few mods I've done in the past. Building one of the prototypes for this, actually, the Marine, was one of those things where I thought, I'll reclaim the pins off it. You know, I'm going to reuse this PCB. Yeah, good luck trying to do that. It was really, really, really hard. I did destroy the prototype PCB, getting the pins off to save them to reuse on something else. Granted, those PCBs might not be quite as thick and as well made as this entire motherboard, but yeah, it's quite hard. The reason being is because the pins absorb a lot of heat, and they absorb the solder. You know, the solder goes right down, and you get a lot of solder on these solder points, and it can just make it extremely hard to desolder them. So in theory now, each of the 4 strips there should be supported sufficiently on 2 points, yeah, which means we should be able to get this on. It's a bit difficult here because that jumper's right in the way, and then carefully just prise out my upgrade like this. So what I don't want to do is solder the whole thing while my, there you go, upgrade's still in place. So we've got Marine out, and then I can just inspect this now at all the right angles, and it's looking pretty damn good. It's looking pretty damn good. It feels nice and flat, and you can see it looks nice and tidy because I used the file to make sure all the pieces there were all cut perfectly, precision cut. Yeah, precision cut by Gadge. I should be autographing it or something. Yeah, it looks really nice, that. Really nice. So I can just commit now to soldering all the other points, and we're pretty much done. The other thing I'll probably do is remove the hybrid and put a strip there for the hybrid, and then potentially give him a modified hybrid. I'm not sure we're going to need to or not, because I'll tell you why. I've been testing on a few different displays here without a custom hybrid. I can't tell the difference, if I'm honest, which I was surprised at, because it's 3.3 logic levels, but I can't see the difference. Maybe I'm blind. I really should scope it. Anyway, I won't bore you with this bit. It's just going to be a case of going around each of the solder points here and soldering them. So first, power on. We haven't got Amber or anything in there at the moment. Switch it on. watching. Yeah, we got SCSI LED there. It's booting up. And obviously we're going to have no VGA, but we've got output there. I swear it's booting a lot quicker. Oh, it's using my card, isn't it? That's why it's using my SCSI. Anyway, we've got video there, so let's now get Amber in again. Pin 1 is down, hang on, magnifier. I'm sure it's down towards the JPEG. I'm just double checking for my own sanity. Yeah, and pin 1 here is down there, so it's like, we know it goes this way. Get it nice and aligned. There we go, perfectly aligned. Push it in. Fits really tight next to that cap, but nevertheless it's in. One thought I did have as well, and I could do, I have an alternate firmware where this jumper here is the thing that changes the scan lines. I might do that rather than having jumpers on the actual thing. Scan lines I think are disabled on this at the moment. Anyway, let's connect my VGA cable up. We may need to now spend ages dialing the cap in, I don't know. You'd think it'd be exactly the same as the old one, but you see it wasn't tuned in right when I got it. That cap, it's a little SMD one there. It wasn't dialed in right because my monitor's going 40 kHz, can't support, and I'm like, what the heck? And I just tweaked that a little bit, suddenly the video came back straight away. Switch it on, see what happens. Right, we've got VGA, and you can see that there because we've got the colour contrast, you know, towards the edge. Wow, that's crystal clear. I'm really pleasantly surprised. My concerns there about, I don't think you should swap this, Amber. It's all about the motherboard, isn't it? Look how sharp that is. That is incredible. I'm not being big-headed here. I've done a good job of this though, haven't I think? Yeah, so what I need to do now is swap Kickstart over in order that we can boot, because, you know, well, we can't boot. But it's not dialed in right. You can see it flipping out there. The frequency's not spot on. Trim cap does need some adjustment. What's really annoying is the SD card he sent me obviously isn't for 3.2. I haven't got 3.1. I'm going to have to take 3.1 ROMs out of my 3000 arm. That's the only thing I can do here right now. And you know what, thinking about this, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to pull the libraries we need from floppy. Thanks to Plan C, and thanks to all the people in my Discord, you know, Patreon, coffee pledges, you know, help pay for things like the GoTech here. I wouldn't have this if it wasn't for the donation of the enclosure from Plan C, and I wouldn't have been able to afford a GoTech if it wasn't for the donations I've received. So I need to now navigate here, a bunch of storage. Right, yeah, I'm going on up the discs here. Storage modules, it's that one, isn't it? I think. Is it modules? Yes, it is. It's loading from that. There we go. Hang on. Oh, and then it needs. Hang on. I thought Icon Libs was on modules. Maybe it's in storage. Yeah, it's on storage. What? I thought it was on storage. Oh, it's not. I've got 3.1.4 here. Not 3.2. Because the answer, obviously, is to get my 3.2 discs on there, but then I need a keyboard, and I haven't got any bench space here, and then go into the auto boot menu and try and assign virtual slots for the discs that I need here. And it's just like painful, absolutely painful. I don't know what to do right now. Because one of the things you see, my 3000, the ROMs I've got for that are turned pin. Yeah, so I'd be sticking turn pins into these sockets here, and I don't want to do that because that will perma damage them. So I haven't got any Kickstart ROMs, which is just so annoying. Yeah, just for now, I'm booting from floppy here. I've took the SCSI out, I'm booting Devil's Temple. I adjusted that trim cap a little bit, try and get it more stable, and it seemed to be solid. But, well, I need to scope it and stuff down anyway. Let's just see what happens with that. It's booting from floppy. Wow, it looks incredibly clear. It's really making me question my 3000. Like, why is the... hang on, yeah, that's not right. Why is the video so shockingly bad? And it's jumping around a bit there, so it does need dialing in. Let's go slightly more to the left. And what doesn't help is I'm using a metal tool, so whilst I'm trimming it, I can't see the picture, because you lose the signal. You alter the capacitance with a metal tool. I think you'll agree, I ain't done a bad job. That's just amazing. It's just amazing. It looks so good on this 3000, this ReAmiga 3000. The video is way better than my 3000. The interesting thing as well, I haven't got an F74 here. I thought I was going to have to swap out the 7.4 F7.4 that does the flipping and flopping of the reads and writes, I think, in order to sharpen the pixel edges up. That's not the case at all. This has got an ALS 7.4 on it, and it looks really, really clean and sharp and precise. It's taken ages to load from floppy. It really makes you appreciate the WHD load version. That is just amazingly sharp. Well, I think TRU's going to be pleased with this. My concerns were unfounded, weren't they? I was nervous, that's why I sent him the message saying, "Are you sure you want me to do this? I think the video's going to be crap." And he's like, "Yeah, go on, do it. This is going to be more reliable at the end of the day." And I'm like, well, it could be fuzzier. But it isn't, is it? It's so sharp, that. That is incredible. It's an amazing picture. Absolutely amazing. It's got me wondering about the ReAmiga 3000 now. I need to go away and have a look at how it's, you know, the schematics for it or something, if I can find those. Because there's definitely a difference. I'd love to know what they've done different on here versus my 3000 board. Bearing in mind, my 3000 board has been recapped. Kavanos recapped it with good quality caps like Nichicons. So, I don't know. I'm wondering if it's about the 5 volt level, you know. The 5 volt level. You know, you've got Vid Plus, haven't you? Maybe they've done something different on this ReAmiga 3000 and just fed it straight across through some filters and inductors, and I don't know, maybe that's the thing here. It's got a cleaner 5 volt supply rail. There seems to be a lot, you know, a lot of changes in terms of capacitors and things like that. I think it's John Hurtle did the work on this board, didn't he? He's done an incredible job, is all I can say. And obviously Stefan building it is amazing. It's so well put together. Yeah, I need a ReAmiga 3000 and a 3000 plus next. I'm so jealous of these boards, which is crazy because I have a 3000 now, thanks to the amazing Kavanos. And I don't think it needs a hybrid either. This is the thing I was saying about that custom hybrid. I don't think we need a custom hybrid. It looks just the same to me. I'm looking up at the wall and looking down here. If anything, this is brighter than the one on the wall. We haven't got a custom hybrid at the moment, so I think the custom hybrid is it's up to you at the end of the day. And this monitors on its factory defaults. That's an important thing here. It's not like I've got brightness 20 or 30% higher. I haven't. I reset it to factory defaults a few days ago. So I'm going to clean the underside of the board in a second. Let's just get the SDMAC out. So I'm going to just get the power to do that. The reason being is because, well, I just know I'm going to end up damaging the power connector here. I scratched on my plumbing hand on that thing. And yeah, we'll get the ReASDMAC out, same as we did the chip. PLCC extractor, squeeze. Wow, that's in there tight. And there we go, slightly lift. And try and pull her out. Inspect the pins again. Yeah, totally straight on that one. Let's just make sure that is Super DMAC. Yeah, Super DMAC, so Rev 2 there. Put that down, let's get the ReASDMAC in. So, pin 1, if you saw my previous video, these work really well, it's incredible. Pin 1 is down the bottom here. And pin 1 there is to the right. Now bear in mind, I don't know whether this has ever been tested. I mean, it probably will be. I think came from Mike T, this one, I think. Well, they all originally came from Mike T, but he's programmed it up, so let's get that in. Yeah, you can just about see there, so I've got it perfectly aligned with the socket. I'm just going to push straight down, like that. That's it. Pin 1 there, pin 1 there. There's that hair there, look. And let's power that on, see what... Is there any LEDs on this? I can't remember. Let's see what happens with that. I'm just going to put my finger on there and have the power switch ready to go off. Yeah, that's booting, I think. Let's have a look there. Oh, it's booting from floppy. Switch it off. I need the TV on. Switch it on. Let's see what happens this time. Yeah, it hit the SCSI there, saw that straight away. It's booting from SCSI. Wow, there you go. So it's working with the ReASDMAC. Yay! So that's boot from SCSI. It's not a proper test because we haven't got the right libraries. Anyway, that's that. So what I'll do now is switch that off, and I'll get these into a little ESD container for him. One or two of these pins on Amber needed straightening, so I'll just use my little pointy thing here. Forget where it was now. It was corner pins, wasn't it? Yeah, that one there. Yeah, you've got to be careful when inserting and removing these. If you don't get them perfectly straight when you push them in, you can bend pins on the edges, you know, the corners. It's the corner pins that are the problems. Anyway, so that's Amber. You can see it says probably a different revision to mine. It's got different prints on it. Anyway, that's that. So I'll do exactly the same thing with the SDMAC here, just inspect around it. So yeah, it's a Rev 2 that. You can see that, it's Rev 2. Anyway, let's get that in there as well, and I can just put those out of the way. Get that one down. And that's that part dealt with. I'll put some captain tape on there. There we go. Anyway, that's some of the job done. And I just need to now carefully clean around there. If you use the dry bit like this, a few different orientations, well, you know, without trying to get any damp parts anywhere else on the board. There's not a single streak or anything, it just looks perfect, it looks good as new. So while we're here, we'll clean that bit up there and the other bit. There were two bits, weren't there? I won't bore you with that though. Right. It took me ages to find that green cap. It must have fell off the table or something. It rolled off somewhere. I was looking everywhere. I've had a number of things on this bench dematerialise over the last few days. And every time it happens, it mega stresses me. I'm like, oh my god, where's such and such a thing gone? And yeah, there's a few things like that. I've got two of those here. I've got something else I've not found. I have two of these. They used to be in the vents of my car trying to stop leaves blocking it, and I had two of them on here for months and months and months, and then I just noticed today there's only one. I'm like, where's the other one gone? And it's like, I've looked everywhere, it's nowhere. It's not under the tables, it's not down the back of the wall, it's nowhere, it's just gone. Not that I need them, I was going to throw them away anyway, but yeah, or you reuse them for something, maybe eBay them or something. But it's just the fact that things disappear, and it's unexplained. That happened with the EV glove ruler before. But like I say, that did turn up, and when it did turn up, I'm like, I can understand how it kind of got in there. But well, things like that plastic drain thing, got no idea where that went. It's just gone. It's completely being absorbed by the room. It's like, have you ever seen the Lost Room? I sent that DVD to a friend of mine, a few friends of mine actually. I sent Vince a copy, I think, the year before last, Christmas. Could have been a few years back now. The Lost Room. Really good series, well worth watching. Yeah, you might think it's a bit cheesy and things like that, but it's such a good, thought-provoking, mind-bending series, if you ask me. And the real irony is, when I worked on the floor, I seldom dropped things on the floor. Now I'm not working on the floor, I drop everything on the floor. Everything goes on the floor. It's like the floor is begging to be worked on. It's like, I actually think in the future, if you could teleport 100 years in the future, everyone will be working from the floor. They'll be like, yep, scientists have proved the best place to work from is the floor. It's better for your backs and your hips and your legs and all these things. Don't work from tables. It's bad for you. It's bad for your psychology as well. I mean, joking aside, I'm sure it's bad for you working on the floor. Mum used to say that. She's like, you'll hurt your back and your knees working on the floor, you shouldn't be working on the floor. And I'm like, I'll be alright. Now I've got back problems and knee problems and joint problems and arm problems and everything problems. So, yeah, don't work on the floor. I should listen to my mum. Mums know best. I can actually have a play. I've got the joystick connected up using the adapter from James over at Retro HQ, plug 10001. He features in every single video now. It's like every time I do anything on any system, I'm like, I'm using the adapter from James. James is a god. Let's use that adapter, it's amazing. And it is. It's incredible. Yeah, the video is not sponsored by James. I'm not being paid to say that it's good. It is good. It's really, really, really good. When I say something's really good on my videos, it isn't because I'm being funded or sponsored or whatever. It's my honest opinion. If something's crap, I'll tell you it's crap. Mentioning no Amiga kit adapters there. And again, don't get me wrong, Amiga kit do sell some pretty nice things. I've had a few things from them recently that I do like. But those adapters, yeah, they could be better. Is all I'm going to say about those. Yeah, I'm just going to have a little clean here. Because, well, we saw those marks earlier. I don't like them. It's a wee bit dirty. And the tops of those chips look... In fact, I'm going to wipe those first. They kind of look shiny and oily. Just here. Some of these here. From what I understand, this board was, I think it was started by Peter Mulholand and finished by Screamo. It might be that most of the work was done by Screamo actually, because I think Peter didn't get a chance to start it for whatever reason. I'll ask TRU if he wants to use this jumper as an additional option thing for the scan lines, because that's the sort of thing that's really easy. I've got IPM bleeding leg there. That's the sort of thing that's really easy to stick some cables on and have a switch. Now you could use one of those touch sensors, yeah, the sort of thing that works with an Arduino. You could power it from here, 3.3 and 5 on the outer pins, 3.3 here, 5 there. Sorry, 3.3 ground, yeah, 3.3 here on this first pin, ground on the edge there, to power your little PCB with your little touch sensor. And you could hot glue it or screw it somewhere into the corner of the case, and basically when you touch the corner of the case it can toggle the scan lines off and on. It's not something I'm trying here, but that's the theory. You know, it's just a case of holding the jumper open, holding the jumper closed, and you can plug it onto there quite easily. I think that jumper is supposed to be used to always scandable. I don't know how that works, because it doesn't always scandable. It always scandables at default. When this switch is in the relevant position here, it might be to override this, so this switch doesn't even work on the back. I don't know. But there are times when you want to switch over to pass the video straight through for unsupported screen resolutions and things. So that jumper I find quite confusing, but it could be repurposed as the scanline enable disable jumper as the point, and you could stick something on it. Right, there's a problem with interlaced. The RAM on here is PAL RAM. 3000s, to my knowledge, from all the research I've done, and I think Liv2 said they talked about it in Discord at the point when the AGA multifix arrived, because there were issues. Is it PAL RAM? Is it supposed to have NTSC? And there were some issues that we saw on that video actually, if you watched the original AGA multifix, with PAL RAM, and at some point I had problems with misalignment between the interlaced frames. And yeah, anyway, bottom line, this has got PAL. TRU didn't ask for PAL RAM to be fitted, but it's just what was available at the time when this was manufactured. You know, and PAL RAM does work with an original Amber. I've proven that. I've put this back into a socket, plugged it in, and it works. Yeah, so it's annoying. It's really frustrating. I've spent 2 hours or 3 hours this morning actually trying to revisit the PAL RAM again on the GVA 1000 to see, can I get PAL RAM working with JP2, because you could use JP2 to toggle between two configurations. That's a future potential if someone wants to fix it. I might fix it yet, I don't know. Matsy might have some clues. I think it's a fundamental change that's required, not a small change. I think the timing obviously is different between the PAL RAM and the NTSC, ever so subtly somewhere. I experimented with the output enable. It's the combined RAM, the stuff that's used in progressive. It's that particular frame, the progressive frame, if you think about it, yeah, in interlaced. It doesn't really make sense, but that particular frame. And if you use the output enable for the other RAM, you get perfect layout of those scan lines. They're not offset by approximately 33%. From the left side. You know, if you imagine your screen's that wide, it's kind of like 33% across where it starts. Yeah, that's the problem. Now I tried changing all the timing in various places, and I couldn't really move it. It just seems to be the way the timing is based on the structure of the code. In other words, and this is a thought I had. I wonder if he's decoding the frames the opposite way that Commodore did, or something like that. But that wouldn't make sense, because you need to store a full frame and frame buffer. Yeah, so you've got to store your first frame in your frame buffer. You've got to do it that way. You can't sort of output a couple of scan lines, then start to use your frame buffer for the next ones. That wouldn't make sense at all. The first frame has got to be in the frame RAM, I think, and then as you're halfway down the frame RAM, you can start to output. It's a bit of a head masher. It's like, say, trying to think about the logistics of the timing that's required. It is a head masher. Anyway, I will revisit it, or someone will. It's open source, and these boards, I think, all ships with NTSC RAM. And I think Commodore did that because you could switch between PAL and NTSC, PAL and NTSC, etc. You know, with the jumper, or by the time this board arrived, ECS, you know, hold both mouse buttons down, well, maybe just after this, both mouse buttons and change to PAL or NTSC. And why is that relevant? The NTSC RAM holds more pixel data, so it's better suited to NTSC. And I think this is why they just went with the NTSC. Yes, Amber works with PAL, can't explain that one. We can revisit it. It's open source. If you've got PAL RAM, you know, the NTSC RAM, there's quite a lot of it available. utsource.com. I've just ordered some more to replace the chips that I'm going to be fitting on this. So I've got some sockets. I'm going to remove these 4 chips. Technically, I don't need to remove all 4. I could just remove the 2 that are related to the side that's causing us an issue here. But, well, I'll remove all 4. Yeah, for me, this is why I always install sockets. Trying to get these line ROMs off is impossible. I've managed to get one off. It's taken me about an hour and a half to get one chip off here. The solder on this side is not coming through with the desolder station, with braid, with the desolder pump. It's an absolute nightmare. I managed to free that first one up by using braid all around it a couple of times and then using hot air. And even then, it was traumatic. The second one, I thought, let's just go with hot air. Yeah, well, I've been at it for 5 minutes there. Can't get it off. It's not coming off at all. I mean, it looks like the solder's all free. I am getting really cheesed off with this. I'm going to try and remove it from the top side. So I've got some, oh my god, why are they stuck there like that now? Yeah, foil, a number of layers of foil around plasticky things. I've got some braid on the front of the chip here. There's no damage to the board yet, which is a miracle, to be honest. Next time I need to remove chips like this, I'm cutting them off. I don't care how rare they are. I've been at this for about 3 hours. I am so fed up with it. You may have heard me cheesed off in a number of videos. I've never been more cheesed off than this. She's braid again on both sides. It's the last chip. Please God, let this come off. Stuck somewhere. Oh God. It's like half on, half off now. There we go, it's off. Got a totally mangled pin there. I don't care. I hate it. It'd give me great pleasure to take a hammer to that chip afterwards. Right, that's it. Seemingly no damage. Seemingly no melted things, I think. Yep, socket's looking good. Everything would appear to be okay here. We just need to just clean up. I'm obviously going to need to use the braid here now. No pads missing. No marks on the board. It's pretty much a miracle, to be honest. Yeah, and in a few places here, I've put a tiny little bit of red UV solder mask, just where, you know, the copper was exposed, and it was like a little char there, tiny one. Obviously, because this was so hard to get off. Yeah, that's all of the little bits of solder mask coated there. You might be able to see, if you look at it in light, you can just see the odd shiny blob, but they're so small. Yeah, you can see the dirt coming off the connector there. Can you see it's like browny yellow? I'd love to have seen the inside of the 3000 originally. Its original board before it got Re-Amiga'd, it must have been really dirty. It's coming off, look. It's brown. Absolutely brown. Yeah, that's going to be, let's say, an indication of what the original motherboard was like. I bet it was really... It's no wonder it got Re-Amiga'd. That would have been a spectacular one, I think, to have seen. Don't know what the corrosion was like on it. Another interesting thing with these 3000s, and I pointed this out in the 3000 repair series that I've done from the board that came from Kavanos, and that's, you can smell the board. So what I mean is, you know, you can smell electronics when it heats up, can't you? But these, really quick, not like hours and hours and hours, you start to be able to smell the board. You're able to smell heat, yeah, from something after maybe 2, 3, 5 minutes, not long at all. And it's this backplane, it's the daughter board, it's the resistor packs on here. If you feel these, they're really warm, and they're like hot, actually hot. The size of them is the thing there. I don't know what size they are, let's have a look. This, you know, the pull-ups, I think, on data bus and address bus connections and things, I can't even see them. I'd have to take it out, but I'm guessing they're really low, like 220 ohms or less, 33 ohm maybe, or 47 ohm, which means you get a fair bit of current going through them all the time, yeah? And, well, they're hot, they cook. You can smell the daughter boards on these 3000s. You can't do that on the other Amigas. I can't smell any resistors heating up on any other Amigas, but the 3000, that is a thing. Yeah, when I showed you cleaning that cable a minute ago, when I cleaned the top of these slots here, they were absolutely dark brown, and don't mistake that for anything to do with plastic. It's not. It was, you know, what the reason why I cleaned that SCSI cable. Very little came off the SCSI cable, so it's been cleaned before. But if I just gently wipe the top of this, there's bound to be some residue there, just a little bit, maybe. Can you see that? A little brown mark there? Yeah. If I do the underside, we may get, and I shouldn't do this while it's on, be careful not to touch anything. Yeah, again, we've just got a little bit of brown. It's incredible how dirty the plastic on those slots were. So as I say, that was all a clue to the original state of the machine, I think. I'll show you what's just come off there now, because that's not had much of a wipe. Can you see that? Brown. Can you see that? Look at all the brown that's come off that. And it isn't the plastic. It's not the plastic. Because I know that, because that top slot there is pretty blooming clean, the top of it. I will actually clean the connections and things before it goes back. I'll get some deoxit onto a piece of folded paper and just carefully clean those. But because as you can see, it looks absolutely amazing in progressive. It really does. And insulate's really good as well. Something else to point out, and we talked about this in the Marine series in general, about sampling. You know, you get jail bars on LCD panels, you don't get those on CRTs. Yet the same thing is true of scan lines. This is why scan lines can be turned off. I get it on this resolution here. It kind of looks a bit jailbar as you go down. It still looks really good, I think, certainly in games, certainly when you've got a blacker screen or a darker screen. But you can see, you know, some variation in the grey lines there. And it's because of a sampling issue again, that the number of scan lines in the vertical orientation don't divide by 2. It's not like you get, you know, a proper scan line and then a blanked scan line, double black pixels, scan line, black pixels, scan line, black pixels. You don't. He's having to sample. So it's kind of, and this is why we see the banding on this display a little bit and this resolution. But trust me, it looks really good. I think I'd still have scan lines switched on if it was my machine. And you can just do that by toggling the jumper next to Marine, the one that's on the motherboard. If I load something, let's just load Rainbow Island. As you can see, it looks absolutely spectacular, I think, in progressive with scan lines on, regardless of the sampling issue on LCD panels. I mean, look at that, it looks amazing. You don't see any jail bars or anything, it looks incredible. Wait for the demo to start where we see a blue background, but yeah, it just looks amazing to my eyes. Yeah, that looks incredible. Looks incredible. Sometimes you can notice it more, the banding in that orientation on LCD displays, when you're scrolling upwards. So if I stare at it really hard, yeah, I can sort of see the sampling issue there. Anyway, it looks incredible. And the jumper in question is this one here. I think it's is it 481? I think it's 481, it might be 483. No, it's 481. So when the jumper is in the position there, top left, left 2 pins, scan lines are on, and when it's in the bottom, scan lines should be off. Right, so we're in progressive, scan lines are off. I'm going to change G481, is it? Oh, does it? I know it does. Sorry, I took it off and put it back in the same position. Scan lines are now on with the position in the jumper in left. So if I take the jumper off, hang on, I can get it off. Scan lines off again. So that works. For now, I'll leave it on like that. I just think it looks better with scan lines on. And why didn't I do scan lines in interlaced? Well, it doesn't make any sense to do it in interlaced, because in interlaced, obviously you've got one frame and then the other, and they're alternating. You get flicker. We're a flicker fixer. So in other words, it's just to output one progressive image, even though it's not really progressive, of that set of scan lines. So if we have scan lines on interlaced, you're going to only have half the resolution. Yeah, in progressive, the scan line goes into the RAM there, and then it gets output, and then the same copy of that gets output a second time. So it kind of makes sense, because you're not losing anything. All you're losing is, doubled up scan lines. You still have the same image, just with scan lines separating everything. But in interlace, you can't do that. I mean, if someone wanted to do that in interlace, you could do that. It would look slightly not quite as detailed. I don't see the point in doing it in interlaced. At this point here, I updated his Kickstart ROMs to 3.2.2. It was something TRU asked me to do. And I think actually he'd installed these ROMs when obviously his Workbench install was 3.1. And in order to get the hard disk booting up reliably when we tested games back there, what I did is just copy the Workbench library and the icon.lib library onto his SD card using WinUAE. And even this EEPROM programming bit turned into an absolute fiasco. It's like I erased the 2 chips, and then 3.2.2 wouldn't go onto one of the particular chips there, either the low ROM or the high ROM. You sometimes get this with EEPROMs where one location can fail to hold a bit of a certain state. So in other words, if I was to write the original version of Kickstart back to it, it would be okay. But 3.2.2, no, you can't write it to that specific chip. And I ended up using one of my spare chips. I had one left, and I've kept the one that's glitchy. And I can write something else to it at some point, as long as that bit is not required. Finally get the chip back into the 3000 to see if it will boot. God, I hope it boots. It's probably at this point here I realise it's byte swapped or something, I don't know. I don't think so. I think I'm writing the same images here that I flashed to my BooBit ROMs for my machine, because I've got license 3.22 and he has license 3.22, so I had the ROMs ready to go with this. Let's stick the ROM in. Please boot. It's booting, I can see Scuzzy. I'm so relieved. That was traumatic. I've been at it over 2 hours to program 2 chips. That's just nuts. Next time someone asks me, Chris, do you mind programming these chips when I send my machine to you on my board or something? I'm like, no, not doing it. Not doing it. Go and get a programmer. Spend 4 hours yourself trying to do it. Is what I'm going to say. Woohoo! Thank goodness for that. So you can see the one with the wrong footprint that we bodged on there earlier. So let's start by getting that off, I think. It's so small. Yeah, there is a wire, I think. Or I don't know, I can't remember. Yeah, there's a wire there, look, and then it's obviously joined down here. There we go, let's get that off. Yeah, so it's 1 microfarad, which is, I find absolutely incredible with these MLCC caps, that you can actually fit 1 microfarad into that space there. I mean, it looks big on the screen. These are just tiny though, look. It's like it's a grain of salt size. Yeah, that looks like it's going to fit. I'll try not to lose the bleeding thing now. Oh my god. Yeah, can you believe that 1 microfarad is in there? It is in there. There's multi-layer ceramics. It's hard to believe that's 1 microfarad. Oh my goodness. You can see what's happening here now. Now it is joining on that side, but oh my god, it's not going where it wants to. Or it needs to, it's going where it wants to. Where's it gone now? It's tombstoned. Oh my goodness. I'm probably going to reflow this with some hot air, I think. Because now that, yeah, it's right up there. Look, that's ridiculous. It's even more strange to me that this is pretty high, like 400 degrees high. Yeah, it's not moved yet. The fluxus doesn't appear to be melting either. There we go. Do you see it move? That looks very mysterious. It's probably the flux that's making it look strange like that. Yeah, and after I clean with a toothbrush, you can see that's it looks like brand new. It looks factored on it. It looks incredible. No issues. Yeah, so this is 9 fingers from Spaceballs. I'm not sure if that's interlaced or not. I think it's a combination of interlaced and progressive, this demo. Like, that looks like it had scan lines on, that doesn't. That looks scan lined, that doesn't. Yeah, it's quite hard to tell. It may all be in progressive, I don't know. It's really cool, this demo. I actually prefer this to some of the other demos that I've previously tested. Yeah, I don't think it's swapping between interlaced and progressive. I think it's all in one screen mode. And the reason I know that is because when I look at the TV on the wall, I can actually see there's a delay in de-interlacing on that TV on the wall. What I mean is, you know, the video comes up here before it comes up on the screen on the wall on some screen modes. There's like a half a second delay on the TV on the wall. And that's the thing about LCD screens, you know, a lot of them have de-interlacers built in. And they're perhaps not as good as this, is the point. And there's always going to be a time delay. That's something else. In terms of gaming, the de-interlacing only takes place so far down the screen. You know, you get so many scan lines down before it then starts to output from the buffers. Probably half a screen at best. Because you think about it, you need twice as many scan lines to display a full screen. So you need to go down at least halfway as you're reading and storing that data before you start to output at a double rate, otherwise you won't have enough data. Does that make sense? So you've got a delay. You're always going to have a delay with these. So when it comes to gaming, you know, if you've got, I don't know, some ultra sharp reflexes that are, you know, nanoseconds or something for doing your jumps and your fires and things, well, you're going to be impacted by that slight delay in any kind of upscaling solution. There's always going to be a time delay. And put it this way, it transmits at a fixed rate, doesn't it, the video output, so you can't get around it. You can't get around it. There's no way you can get around it. You're always going to have a time delay. If it takes time, that, you know, X number of, you know, nanoseconds for so much data to be actually output, how can you speed that up? You can't. But when you use an LCD screen like this, this introduces its own delay, its own latency. Yeah, an LCD panel, its own latency, and the way it displays the data is different as well. It doesn't do it on a per scan line basis like CRTs do. The buffer fills up probably before it, it displays a frame at a time. Yeah, and with de-interlacing you can get some weird things on LCD panels like this, where it's doing its own post-image processing on the signal as well. Yeah, so back to the desktop here. Again, that's in progressive. And let's just do a retry. It's because it's looking for the graphics card here. Picasso 96 does this. The interesting thing is Picasso 96 affects the alignment as well. The horizontal alignment. Is it horizontal? I think it is. Yeah, it is. Which is an interesting thing. I didn't know you could do that. Even in terms of the RGB on the wall, depending on the screen mode, on this setup here, because of Picasso 96, the alignment here, I think when you switch to PAL, it can be like further to the left slightly, which is a weird thing, but that's a Picasso feature. Anyway, that's in progressive. So yeah, you get a sampling issue. You might be able to see bands down the screen here because of the resolution we're in. It doesn't translate very well to the native LCD resolution. If I pull the jumper off, you can see that's without scan lines. So yeah, this is the thing, and this is the jumper that's next to Amber. Put it back on, and I'll switch that jumper over as we test a few games here. So it's up to him if he wants to leave it on that way, or whether he wants to just have the line doubled mode rather than scan lines. This SD card is so slow. It's not the SD card, the actual SCSI card is very, very, very slow. My recommendation to TRU is to swap it for something else. It takes ages to boot. I mean, it's not too bad once you get to the desktop and you get about, I don't know, 3 meg per second or something, but it just feels really slow to me. It takes an infinite amount of time to boot up. So let's start the game. Bear in mind the aspect ratio is not right on this display here. I wanted to do direct captures, but well, I haven't got anywhere to capture VGA. I've got an OSSC. Oh, that's a trauma on its own. Wait till you see the OSSC video before you make any judgments on that. So yeah, that's with scan lines. It looks really nice. Right, let's just change the jumper over. Let's get out the end of this tunnel here. So if I take the jumper off, you can see straight away it went much brighter, because we've now got, instead of scan lines, we've got the same scan line, twice as it goes down the display there. So yeah, I don't know, it looks a bit blockier to me, this is the thing. But it's a preference, personal choice at the end of the day. It depends on what you prefer. It still looks great, but I think I prefer it with scan lines on. Yeah, I prefer it with scan lines on, but that's just me. Right, let's try something else. Some games I think will benefit from scan lines a bit better than others. So I'm just thinking RoboCop might be one of those. I don't know if he's got that on here or not. Yeah, he has. There we go. Yeah, that's normal. Good old Ocean. Yeah, you tend to find these lower resolutions do look better with scan lines on. I don't know why they didn't use the sampling from the film. It's like, instead of their own samples there. Yeah, the interface on this game, I think, doesn't look brilliant. The tile screen looks great. Yeah, it's all stuff around the outside here. I feel like more effort could have been put in. Let's try it with scan lines now, see what it looks like. Yeah, I think that looks better. I don't know. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. What do you prefer? Oh, you can use the set firebot to jump. That's quite cool. There's a version of this coming out for the Mega Drive, isn't there, I think? I'm quite looking forward to that. It may get ported to the Amiga as well, I don't know. It might be the Amiga, but then get ported to the Mega Drive. The interesting thing with this game, you might not be aware of, the arcade game came from the original home version. It's not the other way around. It's not like the home versions were ports of the arcade. They weren't. Data East had a license with Ocean to do the game, which is yeah, cool. I don't think there are many, if any, other games where that happened. Where there are some arcade games that came from home computers. Codemasters pushed a load of games to the arcade, didn't they? So one good. You want the one that, there you go, via single shots really. And Dave Pooh did a video on this game recently, the arcade version, because he had lots of memories playing it as a kid, as a teenager maybe. And yeah, he was trying to one credit it, but he did really well. He got right to the last stage or so, I think, before he failed. And I learned something watching that you've got to shoot these targets to get more health, and I'm crap at it. I missed them. You've got to get 100%. If you don't get 100%, then you don't get the health bonus. Oh, I mean, I've missed one so far, but oh, it's when they scroll towards you. Didn't even tell me what percentage you got there. There you go. That's the difference to the arcade, that it doesn't actually tell you. Maybe you don't get more health in the home versions, like something Data East came up with. Yeah, let's try some Star Wars. Again, I'll pull the jumper off to start with. This is the sort of game I think may look better with scanlines. To me, I think all games look better with scanlines, but because it's vector based, and obviously we don't really have vector support, do we? Hang on. We've got lines, pixels. It's raster based. How do you start this? Oh, it's mouse, isn't it? I think this one. Yeah, it's a mouse. So that's without scanlines. I mean, the one thing I will say is, like on an LCD panel like this, depending on the native resolution of the monitor, it can look better without scanlines. It really depends on your monitor. Otherwise, you can end up with jail bars of some sort. Well, not of some sort, in the scan line down the screen orientation. So let me put the jumper on. Here we go. 2 shields left. Yeah, you definitely lose the brightness a little bit because, well, you've got half as much data. I just think it looks better. It's like, say, your brain applies the anti-aliasing. Shields have gone. I don't think I'm going to destroy the Death Star at this rate. Just try and avoid stuff. Ah! We crashed into the trench. Alright, that concludes the work for this board, I think. So, yeah, just a summary. Obviously we replaced the RAM here and socketed it up. It's well worth fitting a 74F74 here because it does sharpen up the pixel data. Certainly on PAL. It's awful on PAL without a 74F74. I don't know why that is. It's obviously timing related to the PLL stuff. Commodore did something subtly different with Amber originally that meant that you didn't need to worry about that. But the GBA 1000 has a 74F74 there. That was the first test I did when I was working on Marine here. In the GBA 1000, in the video, that was perfect. It was only when I came to the 3000 I went, oh, it's not quite as good in PAL. What's going on here? And it was that component's the only difference. On my 3000, as you'll see in that repair series, I had some issues with some of the components around here. The tolerance of one of the components was awful. And when I swapped that out, it really improved the video on my 3000 board. And on my 3000 board, massive thanks to Kavanos, because that's who it came from. It was his original board before he Re-Amiga'd the customs and things and built, a ReAmiga 3000. He may have even gone with the one from Hesse, the 3000++. I don't know what he did with the chips there. So anyway, let's get it back in. It's got its floppy cable back on. You know, I'll just show you on the underside. We did apply all those little bits of red solder mask, and you can barely see them. Just here under the RAM, just here under the RAM. You've got to get the board at just the right light, and you may be able to see tiny little dots of red UV solder mask paint. I'm just going to have an inspection of that actually, so have a quick look. It's just the odd hair. Let's just give it a quick brush like that, gently. Anyway, it's going back in a complimentary ESD bag here. I got some of these for my boards ages back, and I've got a few spares. So it didn't come in an ESD bag, it came in the ESD bubble wrap, but why not give it just a little bit of extra protection. And obviously we've got two little boxes to go back as well. We've got this original SDMAC 02 and his Amber. Yeah, I've taped those up, I think, have I? No, I haven't. I'll stick some tape on those, just check they are in there. Yeah, so both chips are in there. And then obviously in his Re-SDMAC box, I've just put the PCBs that I was going to send him. So we've got some V3 of the 27C4096 adapters, which TRU kind of is behind because he sent me a load of chips like 4 or 5 years ago. I already had the idea to do the adapter, but and I had the chips actually, I had 4 or 5 chips ready, but then he sent me a job lot of chips, and that was the thing that made me go, yeah, we need to do this. I've got loads of these chips from TRU. And then 2 of the different prototypes and the release candidate 1. There is a release candidate 2, and that's the one that's on GitHub at the moment. At this point in the series, I haven't actually tested that. It should be alright. All I did is I relocated a cap and added an extra pull-up resistor. So I do hope you found that interesting. Massive thanks to TRU for entrusting me with his board here. And thanks to TRU for sending me a T48 programmer about a year or so ago now. There will be a video up on the extra channel on that, I think, coming up soon. And thanks to TRU and everyone that supports the channel for helping support the marine development here. I couldn't have done it without all of the support that you guys and gals provide, but TRU did kindly, provide just enough for the different batches of prototype boards. So as you showed, I sent him 1 of each. Yeah, just adding this bit at the end, you can see RC2 here, where I actually widened this and moved 1 or 2 of the components around. So yeah, there will be a part 5 on the marine series of things where hopefully I'll wrap that up, but we kind of wrapped it up in this video to a degree. If you'd like to support the channel, please see the Ko-fi and Patreon links down below. I'll catch you in the next video.